Jared, as I mentioned before, I'm so glad that we're able to do this again because we
Yeah,
did it the other day, and that one was a great one. So I think this is gonna top that one. I think.
we'll see. I hate to try and repeat myself, right? So we got to just start with something fresh and new.
Right, right.
But
All
I
right,
was on the corner of 7-Eleven and D Street and Encinitas. That's kind of where we left off.
and it was great.
Yeah,
It was a great setup. I'll tell you that.
word,
And now
word.
we're here.
Good to be here, Jacob, at the Vineyard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you again for coming back on, man. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad that we
Yeah.
were able to redo this. And I love to repeat myself, so it's also good. With what I just said,
You like the kind of interview that asks every artist the same exact questions.
yeah, I like to throw in some same questions. I do, but
I'm just kidding.
I like to switch it up as well. I
I'm
like
kidding.
to because there's some questions that people just have such good answers to.
Yeah.
I like to get a huge, not like a huge, but like a good amount of different, answers to the same question.
To be honest, I'm just trying to give you my best Larry David. I feel like I watched this recent interview with Larry David, and he's just challenging the interviewer.
Oh
Every
yeah.
time. It's horrible. I love that surfer poster behind you. That's
Oh, I
a
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I
Yeah.
got it years ago. I got it years ago, and I was carrying it around the whole day. I was like, it's gonna be totally worth it. I was hanging out with my buddy at the beach, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna hang it up when I get home. And then it luckily it didn't get dented or anything, but I just remember carrying that thing around.
Right on. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
And now
I remember that. I remember that, seeing that in one of the episodes, one of the editions.
yeah, really.
Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah, I think
That
it's
was
a traveler issue.
of a 70s like surf trip or something, right? And the dude just camping in a tent. Was that,
I
maybe I'm
I,
wrong?
I
But
want to say so because I tried to get a little bit of information on it. I was like, well, it's such I just love it's such a good little picture there.
absolutely.
And like I always have a fascination with surfing, and I never really got into it, but maybe I will. Maybe I'll just pick it up now. I mean, it's
Yeah.
never too late, but it's a whole thing.
Anyone can do it. It's a social skill. It's a great social skill.
Yeah, and fighting in the water is always good for you, cardio wise.
Absolutely.
I rewatched Point Break the other day. Such a good movie.
Incredible movie. I love that movie.
Yeah, really, really, really good.
The narrative of having criminal surfers as bank robbers is just genius. Venice Beach, like surfer bank robbers.
Yeah,
And then
it's really good.
I mean, we could talk about this later if you want, but I'm pretty obsessed with sandwiches. Like they're one of my favorite things in the world.
Yeah,
And the scene where Gary Busey eats 2 meatball sandwiches, like even just like I wait for that scene like every time I watch that movie. Like I love.
give me two. Give me two.
Yeah, give me 2 of those. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Super, super good movie and really, really good cast. Gary Busey is great in that. And
Right.
you got the Red Hot Chili Peppers in there too. I mean,
Yes, his name in that is what is Anthony Kiedis's stage name in that?
it's
War Cry,
something,
War Cry or something.
something like that. Yeah,
War Child, or it's quite the name.
yeah, it is quite the name for
Yeah.
Anthony Kiedis. Yeah.
Oh,
But I mean, were you surfing a lot when you were a kid coming up because you're San Diego kind of guy?
that's why I kind of call it a social skill. I'm not the I can definitely surf, and I've had the bug in the past, like meaning surfing every day type of vibe. And I'm decent. I can ride. I could ride the green wall, but it's a social skill. Like I've surfed once in the last. People are not going to like to hear this who are surfers, but I've surfed once in the last maybe year and a half. But I can always do it, and it's just fun to do, and it's not something that gives me purpose, but I'm happy that I know how to do it, and it's a beautiful thing to do when you do it.
Definitely, yeah. And that's cool that I mean, it's not as prevalent as it once was, but it's still there, nonetheless.
Right. So when I was living in Costa Mesa, during our studies at UC Irvine, we were doing music school there. It was a pretty big part of who I was, and my twin brother as well. We'd surf every day, or if not every other day. and that was a really nice time in life. It feels good to connect with nature on any level, whether it be mountains, ocean, whatever. But that seemed to be, it's funny, as humans, we figure out what we need at a certain point in our life. And that was just something that I needed at the time, but not as much anymore, I don't think.
Right.
Yeah.
Was surfing like an introduction to music as well? Did that go hand in hand when you were younger, or was it kind of always separated?
No, dude. What introduced me to music was a zero skate film called Misled Youth. And and also Thrill of It All, the first zero video ever made. And that was made in my neighborhood of Encinitas. Well, they made it all around San Diego and I think across the country, but the zero team was based in Encinitas, which is where I'm from. So that had a huge music culture attached to it. And it got us into like, punk and other just really good music, even like the Stones and Led Zeppelin and the Who. There's some Righteous Brothers in there, like just really good soundtracks, the Misfits. And before, like the first tape I ever owned, but me and my twin, when I say it's pretty much me and my twin, we pretty much had the same existence together.
You gotta share it. Yeah.
Oh, just moving forward, when I say it probably means we.
Got it.
But I mean, we did share the same DNA strand. Anyways, so like Jonathan, my twin, had made he made a cassette tape of the Misled Youth music. So it was just a video, the Misled Youth video, fed into the cassette recorder, and we recorded the audio from it. So you heard all the skateboard sounds with it and everything. You heard all the sounds that you heard from the movie. So that's what we'd listen to, like in our Walkman or whatever, was just that whole Misled Youth soundtrack. So that got us into music.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's rad. You just ripping the audio from it. That's super cool.
Yeah, man.
What other tapes were in circulation when you guys were kids?
So we're the youngest of like 5. So our older siblings were super into music as well. So my bro gave us who actually skated for the zero team for a brief minute, Mike and Mattson. He gave us a Smiths tape, and it was Strange Ways Here We Come, and that was in 6th grade. And it took a little bit of time to understand what was going on. I couldn't really understand his low voice, and the music wasn't that edgy as like the punk that we had been hearing in the skate videos. So we're like, why does he like this? This is not Black Flag or Misfits. This is kind of weird. Kind of more, there was another level to it that it took a little more maturity to understand, or just a little bit more listening. And because we had kind of like admired our brother so much, we looked up to him as like, we thought he was just a cool dude. I say it in the past tense, but he's still a cool dude. Anyways,
back then he was like the coolest.
Back then, dude, he was super cool. No, just kidding. And anyways, I just wanted to give it time, because I'm like, if he likes it, he likes it for a reason, and it's good. So it was more not mine but his, and then it became ours the more we listened to it, and just kind of soundtracked our whole life at that point in time. Like pop it on the Greyhound when you're going to visit Gramps in Lodi type of thing. Which is what we did. And then the other record that was on constant rotation was Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, or whatever it's called, the Smashing Pumpkins record.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I could have gotten the title wrong, but you know what I'm talking about.
I do. Yeah.
So those two were pretty heavy on rotation, like super heavy.
Wow. Yeah. So I mean, you are delving into it through other people, kind of giving you privy, like, hey, like this is what this is, and such.
I think that's something that's important about music. People that you trust can share stuff with you, and you trust it, and then it becomes yours. But
right, definitely,
it's simple, but it's kind of profound at the same time. Like it's a lot of the reason why we like what we like is because someone we like or admire or trust has turned us on to it,
which is awesome when it happens.
Yeah, rather than this, maybe now it's different with the whole algorithm thing, but it was pretty amazing back in the day having people in your circle just show you stuff, and that's how you got into stuff. Very grassroots, in the trenches type of
Yeah,
experience.
it's like if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have found out about it at the time. So
Well, I
it
just got back
was.
from the tour, man. It was amazing. We played in Tahoe, and
What's the venue out in
different place.
Tahoe? What's like is there like little like something going on over there? Because when I went up there, it didn't seem like there was much going on. But maybe I'm not privy to the scene up there.
There's definitely a scene, man, and it's this it's a not only a cool venue, it's a very celebrated venue, but it's called Crystal Bay. Well, it's a casino, but they have a venue inside. So I guess it's Crystal Bay Casino, and
Right.
it's a scene, man. They win awards every year because it's like a fan favorite venue, artist favorite venue. But it was, yeah, beautiful venue. They had a tree inside with lights on it, like an actual tree. So always nice to have a little, I don't know,
Nature.
the decor was cool. They had an open ceiling, open beams. The sound was decent, but more than anything, the vibe was just super cool. And you're in the mountains, in this random mountain town with snow everywhere, and it's just cool that there's music lovers everywhere.
Yeah,
There's
it doesn't
a lot
matter
of-
where you go. There's people who are digging it.
yeah, and in this particular audience, there's a lot of hair, so it was cool to see a lot of hair. In
Yeah.
Southern California, you don't see a lot of hair.
No. Yeah,
You do a little bit,
yeah,
but
a little bit, but not. It's not really prevalent. I
yeah,
see what you're saying.
just
Yeah,
that mountain spirit.
yeah, different. It's a different vibe.
Yeah, and they call it the North Shore, the South Shore. It's a cool area. It's very self-sufficient, very contained. They operate on their own, in their own world. They don't answer to anyone but Tahoe. It's like a very yeah, it's cool. I mean, they have their own thing going on for sure that I don't know much about, but it just had a good feeling, and the audience was great. Tougher people,
Yeah, yeah,
harder to penetrate the psyche with musically, but
sure. But
it
you're up for the challenge.
yeah, and it felt good, and I felt like they enjoyed the set, and we shall return.
Good.
Shall return.
You heard it here. This is groundbreaking news.
That is a marketplace we will return to.
The Mattson 2 is coming
Yeah.
back. What was your local venue? Like where would you go see shows when you were living in San Diego as a kid?
Yeah, so not a ton of options under 21, but there was an incredible institution, I would call it, called Miracles Cafe, right in Cardiff. And if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure this is what's up, but they had live music every night, if not like most of the week. And although it was a cafe, it would stay open till like 11 o'clock at night. So it was like a real old school, old world cafe owned by this German woman. So definitely bringing the European cafe vibe to San Diego. And it was just a scene, man. It was like a little wooden house, and they had music either inside or outside on any given night. Summertime, you'd usually have it outside. And we were probably 14 or 15 at the time, and we just go there every week. Our brother, actually, who I was talking about earlier, worked there, and he told us to check it out. And that's really where we got our start as well. But as far as going to shows, that was a good spot. Miracles Cafe. I still have a T-shirt, Miracles T-shirt, and it's like
Sick.
and it's like, for those who know, like, type of shirt. And of course, once we turned 21, the legendary place we'd try to go like every week or whatever would be the Casbah, right near the airport.
Still there, yeah, right?
Yeah, legendary. It's been there since, I think it started in the 80s or whatever, but it only fits 300 people, but they have just the best artists come through to this day. It's just it's an incredible mojo place.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is really cool that there. I mean, even that there was a place for the kids to go to. That's super important for.
As a 21-year-old kid, though, I would go to more with all of our friends. We'd want to, like, do more than just go to a show though. We'd want to like dance and stuff. So for that, we'd go to Beauty Bar. Beauty Bar is a rad place. Like I think they operated as like a salon during the day. They have a few of them around the country. They have one in New York and one in San Francisco. And it would operate as a salon during the day, if I'm not mistaken, and then at night it would turn into a total dance club.
Rad.
And it's such a cool spot, dude. Love that spot. So we'd go there a lot too.
And I mean, I know I asked you this the first time, but how old were you when you started picking up the guitar?
I was a wee young lad at about the age of 12, but didn't start playing it seriously until 15.
That's when you're like, all right, this is a passion. It's not just
Actually,
a hobby.
You know what's weird? And it was in health class that we were seeing this video. I forget what the video was about. Probably a don't do drugs video, which is great. I support that. And this guy was playing guitar in the video, and I was just looking at him play guitar. I don't even remember the music or the song, but I remember the image of him plucking the strings, and I was like, it was the first time ever I was motivated to go home and go, I want to play guitar. And I actually played guitar. All I played when I was 12 years old was a Beethoven melody called Ode to Joy. And so the way I got my motor skills up on guitar was I was able to play that really, really, really fast. Whatever. And I was like, okay, my fingers actually know how to work now. So once you get your fingers to start working, then you can actually start learning the language and like applying your fingers to whatever you want, you know. So your fingers are really the avenue for exploration. Yeah, I don't know if that answers the question.
Oh,
it's kind of where it started. That's kind of where it started. Was this random video that I don't even remember.
I like how you're like, okay, don't do drugs, got it. But this guy on the guitar is also pretty rad, so I'll just do that instead.
Exactly, that was more impactful than the message they were trying to tell.
It got through. Something got through.
Exactly. And you know what the best thing was that I should not omit was, because our mom and dad were really hard workers and they worked every day, they were never home. Rather than leaving an avenue for mischief, they tried to sign us up for like after school stuff, especially in junior high. And one of the things that they signed us up for was a guitar class. It was a free program that only, you know, you had to apply pretty quickly to get in. And that's where a lot of it started as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And we are the worst guitar players in the whole class. Like really no promising potential whatsoever. The teacher did not take any interest in us. He was after the star students. We were not one of them. But look at me now.
Yeah, where are those stars now, huh?
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
That's awesome, man. And again, this is going back to our first discussion, but your brother was also at the same time, I mean, initially learned the guitar, but then switched to drums. Correct.
Yeah. I admire his path, because where I figured out what I wanted, he figured out what he didn't want, and was like, nope, I don't want to do guitar. That's the whole issue that he can describe. But then he switched to bass, and then he actually even switched to like exploring vocals a bit, like wanting to just be a singer. And then, I mean, I've mentioned this so many times, but it doesn't hurt to mention it again. But there was a drum kit at our brother's house. He lived in kind of a punker house off Santa Fe. People in Encinitas know like that area. And the house isn't there anymore, but it was like a gnarly skater house, like spray paint all in the walls inside, and what you see in those 80s movies, like whatever. Amazing, like half pipe in the back. Just a scene where all the skaters would hang out, all like, you know, Expedition would roll through, Zero, Toy Machine, like people knew about this house. It was like a, you know, and there was a drum kit in the house, like there's music happening in the house all the time. And so my actually our brother was a pretty decent drummer, but he was like, hey Jonathan, why don't you try drums? Whether he was subconsciously trying to find a musical interest for my twin, I don't know, but it's possible that he was just more like, okay, he's not into guitar, not in the bass. Maybe let's see if he can get in the drums. Sure enough, within a few minutes, he was able to like play the beat that my bro taught him like exactly correct. Like, and it just showed natural ability. And shortly after that, we were able to scrounge up some money and get a drum kit for him, and he never looked back. That was when he was about 15 though. So within 1 month of him getting a drum kit, within 1 month of that, we were already trying out for Battle of the Bands in 10th grade or 9th grade. Yeah, one of those.
You guys are off and running.
Yeah. So
I mean, music really does like just flow through you guys. Just, I mean, obviously in different instruments, but still at the same time, it's really a thing that is very important to both you and your older brother.
Yeah. It's funny, man. I mean, back to that 7-Eleven store that I was sitting at in front of when we first talked. Like, they play opera music to keep away all the homeless and the mischief, because like it psychologically messes with people's head. Like, they don't want to hear opera music all day. Like, they don't want to sit in front of that and hear that. Right. So it, even on that level, it shows you the power of music on like an even subconscious level. Like, someone's like, I don't really want to be in front of the 7-Eleven right now. I don't really know why, but I don't want to be in front of the 7-Eleven right now. Oh, it's probably because you don't want to hear opera too. But I like opera though. But yeah, so I think that's the amazing about music. Like, no matter what your path is in life, like, people pretty much, there's music for everyone. And those who have like the desire to tap into it and use it as their own outlet. I mean, that's pretty much what we did. But yeah,
it was just killer, man. That's awesome.
Right on.
Yeah. Was I mean, and again, harkening back to the 7-Eleven interview. But you guys attended it was a UCSD, right?
Right.
Together.
UCSD and UC Irvine. Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. What was did you know immediately it's like, okay, like we're in a band, we'll just go to the same school?
Our existence as musicians together was integral to our growth at the time. It still is, but I have obviously my own project and Jonathan has his as well. But for that point in our life, our growth was almost dependent on each other, for better or worse. And so even in our application letter, we're basically like, we're not going to join the program unless we can both be there together. And a little bit of muscle there, and they accepted, and we became allowed into the master's program at UC Irvine. And that was an amazing time, man. That was like, imagine a place, because when you're at that level of academia, not on an intellectual level, but on an environmental level, once you're at that stage, you've already done all your GEs, you've already done your bachelor's, you've already gotten all that stuff away. So when you're at that master's level or whatever, you're only doing what you want to do. Like some of the stuff you don't exactly want to do, but everything that you're doing is geared towards music. Like 100% of your existence in that establishment is all music, or whatever it is you're studying, So that was an amazing time to just devote yourself fully to music and have the resources and environment to do it in.
It seems like it would really open up a lot of just different creative avenues, and like within your brain, even to be like, well, I got a lot of time and to like flesh an idea out or just explore other sounds or what have you.
Because, dude, you're in Irvine. What else is there to do in Irvine?
Oh, I know.
Except for walk on those huge streets that have no sidewalks.
Yeah. Unless you want to go to work, because there's a lot of buildings for work.
A lot of work. There's a lot of work there.
You're right. I know. Yeah.
But I liked Irvine because it was so sterile, and it didn't have much distraction. And literally being in that environment, you could just focus on your work every day. And it was close enough to Costa Mesa, which was our main hang, and 50 minutes to downtown LA. So it was kind of a magical spot. Perfect spot.
I don't think
I
anybody has
very
ever
much,
said Irvine magical spot, but you
for
know,
those interested in pursuing a master's in music, I think their program is only PhD now. I endorse Irvine fully, and the faculty is amazing. Yeah, let that go on record, ladies and gentlemen.
that is on record that you endorse UC Irvine to
Yeah,
go there. It's an interesting place, Irvine, really. Um,
it's like a giant theme park. Like, it's very fabricated,
yeah,
planned out. Everything is planned out. It's not like a city that organically formed over many, many, many years. It's like, no, we're gonna make every neighborhood is gonna be walking distance from, a grocery store, a cafe, a dry cleaner, what, like every part of Irvine has the same exact thing. It's like,
right, right.
it's pretty interesting.
It is a very interesting place. Were you and your brother like kicking it a lot though when you guys were in school? Were you guys like was always hanging around together?
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah. Very tight. Yeah.
That's
To this
awesome.
day. Yeah. Best friends, business partners, music, bandmates, esteemed colleagues, all in one.
You see Irvine alumni, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I mean, in the earliest iteration of Mattson 2, were you guys always called Mattson 2, or did you switch the name to Mattson 2? Let me say Mattson 2 one more time because I don't think I said it enough.
Wait, Magic too? What are you saying?
No,
I don't
no,
understand. No, just kidding.
that's
No,
it.
people don't understand it when I say my name, Mattson too. They're like, this one gal walked up to us after the show in Tahoe, and she's like, I don't understand. You're both named Matt. What is the significance of? I'm like, no, it's our last name, Mattson, and there's two of us. But she thought we were trolling them because we were telling everyone our names are Matt, like there's two Matts, but we're like identical twins. So,
Well, we're both Matts, we're both sons, so
yeah, yeah. But the earliest, dude, our band name before Mattson 2 was Alien Choppers from Beyond, and we played actually this piece right here. I'm working on my meteorologist. You know how you can mirror the camera? You have to know.
yeah. Which side?
I'm working on being a weatherman pretty soon, but
No, it's good.
anyway,
It's good. It's good. It's good body language right now, I'll tell you.
this artist is Thomas Campbell. Amazing artist. He gave us his record label, was the first ever record company that put our music out.
I did not know that they had a record label. I know that he's an artist. I know that he does paintings and he shoots photography and a lot of that stuff. But I didn't know that he had a record label. That's very interesting.
Yeah, it was called Galaxia. It's still around. It's not putting anything out anymore. But anyways, he had an art show in LA and kind of just said we should just call you guys the Mattson 2. So he kind of, put that name into the air, and we're like, yeah, that sounds good. So at that moment we became known as Mattson 2.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
because it's Thomas Campbell. Wow.
Pretty much. Yeah. I'd be willing to admit that.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad you're so open about the origin of the name. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome though.
But Mattson 2 existed in the womb, so it was only a matter of time before
there's a naval slap
before
to
it became known as the Mattson 2. Yeah.
That's really cool, man.
Right.
And I mean, did you always feel, I mean, obviously you always feel connected to your siblings, let alone a twin, but were you guys were always like really close? I mean, not just hanging out all the time, but like you just share like a bond between yourself and Jonathan?
Yeah, totally. And the other siblings, we were pretty friendly to everyone, to each other. Yeah.
I sure hope so.
I did have a nightmare as a child that the devil was tickling me, because my older brothers would always tickle us, and that was kind of a form of torture. But other than that, I mean, that was like good fun, But yeah.
And what's the age difference between you and the oldest?
The very oldest is 14 years, I think, and then the middle is 7 years.
Yeah. That is crazy.
We're Irish though, man. Irish have a lot of kids, eh?
You guys Catholic?
No.
Oh, I was
Like,
gonna say that there's another piece of the story. Yeah,
yeah,
5. Man.
yeah. There's 5 of us.
Well, it's really the Mattson 5, if we're getting down to brass tacks.
Yeah. If you want to get to the into the, I don't know. I think into the origins of, craft and artistry in general. Our parents like met in art school, so I mean that helped. I think that it could be hereditary. I think has been a study on, you know creativity and whatnot, and it
Yeah.
comes in the genes. So we, for better or worse, we have our kind of genetic makeup, or things that we do. I don't know. It's like very. What if my parents were like CEOs of a business? Like maybe I'd be like an amazing businessman right now. But it just so happens that we grew up around art and two creative people who like encouraged, expressing yourself through art. And I think, people just get what they get in life, and that happened to be our upbringing.
Yeah.
It drives some people crazy, the bohemian kind of lifestyle or whatever, but it just happens to be what the environment that we grew up in. So,
Right. Now, I mean, like going into this creativeness, when you guys started playing shows, were you guys nervous, or were you nervous and you didn't let your brother know, or was it vice versa?
I remember being super nervous when we played our 7th grade or 8th grade talent show. Like super nervous. We played a Ramon song, actually. That was cool. That's when Jonathan was still on bass. But that was the first ever show we ever played, and it was super nerve-wracking. We still have photos from that, I think. But
Awesome.
it eventually faded, and yeah, we were nervous for sure. Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine, because you're starting really young,
Yeah, this is kind of a weird thing to observe, but to me, playing guitar, like in junior high, was not considered cool to me. Like I didn't think it was very cool, like carrying a guitar to school. Like many people associate like playing guitar with like being cool, but I didn't really think about it that way at first. It was more like I thought of it as kind of nerdy, because I was a skater, and I was like, yeah, I don't know, I kind of feel kind of weird carrying this guitar to school. But then you just grow up and you eventually understand how it doesn't matter, but also how cool it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
an
that's kind of why
amazing
I'm
learning.
saying that because that's probably why I was a little bit nervous too.
Sure, because like,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, everybody's looking at me. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you go back and tell yourself, it's like it just doesn't matter what other
Right.
people think. Uh,
Exactly.
it's once you reach that clarity, it doesn't matter,
Yeah,
because it
exactly.
doesn't it really doesn't matter. It matters what you think. It's your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very very important thing that everybody has to learn. But
Well, on that note, it's almost a coping mechanism, the ability to have something that's an outlet that's also creative, that can get you through problems. I remember Questlove. I don't remember the exact words that he used, but he posted something of a kid playing drums, and he just went on to explain the importance of having an outlet of any kind to release your problems with, whether that be finger football or making sandwiches or playing music. It's like you need something to let that stuff out. And to me, music was the best way of doing that. Some people like I actually started running too. I can actually call myself a runner now because I did a half marathon.
man, dude, all
And
right, we get it. You're better than us. All
I
right.
know, no. But I was talking to a friend the other day, this really cool journalist, but who's become a really good friend of ours. And I'm like, you know a lot about stuff. You're a journalist. Can I call myself a runner now that I've that I've done this? He's like, absolutely. But then
There you
there's
go.
Then there's the marathon though. I've never done a marathon, so I almost feel like I almost have an imposter syndrome
regarding running.
And a lot of my friends ran the La Jolla half marathon, and I came in very, very last place compared to them. Like they topped, I don't know, they topped some pretty, but I didn't do it to win. I did it because it's enjoyable, and it was just kind of something. I don't
And you're
know.
chasing that runner's high.
I got a medal. So
I mean,
everyone got it.
That's legit. That's legit.
Yeah.
You got the medal, man. You medaled in it.
And guess what got me through the last mile of the race?
What was it?
Iron Maiden, the loneliness of a long distance runner.
I was really hoping it was gonna be that Zero soundtrack. That's what I thought you were gonna say.
Oh dang! I should make a soundtrack of that. There probably is a playlist of that.
Oh, definitely.
So why did I say that? Just having an outlet. Just having an outlet to. I mean, for you, maybe your outlet's interviewing and the music investigative type of work that you do. You know, like outlet could take so many different forms. It's just a matter of how fulfilled you feel or how much of a stress relief you feel after you've done it.
Yeah, really, for me, it's finding aliens. You know, I'd love to go ahead and go do that. But this is like a nice side gig.
Oh, really? Wow. All right, I'm down. You should interview Tom DeLonge then.
Oh yeah. Well, I've had him on a couple times. We've discussed our theories. It isn't really align though, you know.
Okay, all right. That's for another time.
Yeah, it's that's for another podcast. No,
Word.
That would be crazy. That'd be crazy to have him. I would only ask him about the alien stuff. Nothing about music at all.
I don't think he would agree to talk about anything else, to be honest.
Well, great. I mean, that just works. That just works out.
I think he'd have a program in place.
When you perform live, do you prefer to be on the bass and the guitar at the same time, like looping a bass line, or do you prefer to have a separate bassist? Because I know you guys do both. What do you prefer?
In Mattson 2, I'll take care of the bass. In in my new trio, definitely want an actual bass player. That's a whole different vibe.
Yeah, because it's you got somebody else doing a separate person. It's like you're gonna keep on doing it. So and I can do what I'm doing. Got it.
Yeah, it can work in Mattson too, but the bass player would need to have a deep level of understanding of kind of I would call it the history of what we're telling. Like we'd play our whole catalog and improvise within that at random times and restructure, repurpose, whatever. So it just allows a seeming constriction, such as being tied to a robotic loop pedal, although it would seem like a limiting factor at face value. As a Mattson 2, it's freedom, because you got to take the time to build the loop, record it, replay it back, but you're in control of everything that's happening. Like I'm in control of everything that's happening harmonically and melodically, and Jonathan's in control of everything that's happening rhythmically. So of the three branches of musical government, you have rhythm, harmony, and melody. So we can control that by ourselves, and we're one DNA strand. So you can just do the math there, and it just makes everything easier. I would say
because you guys are on the same level, and it's been built in.
Yeah,
you guys are on that level, and it's hard for somebody else to come in.
Yeah, and people do come in, and it's a great time, and it works really well. Like the record users with Chaz, Star Stuff, and we work with Tony Ferraro a lot from Astronauts, etc. Like we have a core group of people that can come in and hang, and especially like playing with Tommy Guerrero and Ray Barbie, like they get it. They're like, those are kind of triplets over there, those guys that we work with.
Yeah, man, talk about, like skating. It really doesn't stop with the Tommy Guerrero and the Ray Barbie. Like, how did that relationship?
Huh? I literally stopped skating because I wasn't a good skater or anything, but I would get hurt too much, and music became too important, like hands and whatever. But no, right. So I was telling, someone was asking me about it, I forget who. I knew Ray and Tommy as musicians before skaters. So I only heard their music. Like I never saw them skate or anything. And all the skaters are gonna hate me for that because it's like, you know, they've invested so much in. I feel like their fans have invested so much in them because of their abilities as skateboarders. But we have a unique relationship with them because we all respect each other as musicians, and it's on a music level. Like we don't give a. I think their skate's amazing, but they don't. Their identity, in my mind, is not based on their skating. It's based on their personality and their musicianship, and like that's where we've established our bond over the past 15 years of knowing each other. You know, or
Man,
more, maybe
yeah.
20 years now, or something like that. Pretty long time, 18 years. So it's. I mean, I think it's a cool way to, you know, build a friendship with someone like them, where it's like more based on music rather than maybe the traditional way they've come in contact with other people, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that is really crazy. And that's awesome. They make great music.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of success through it too, which is a really interesting thing to see that like people do accept it. Whether it be the same people who are fans of them as skateboarders, but there's like definitely like there's some traction gaining through their music, which is awesome.
And I think there's something to be said about that because of the skateboarding, because it's such a DIY culture. Like if you make a video, like maybe you'll find your own music, but maybe you have to make your own music too, and then you'll have to make your own art on the bottom of your skateboard, or you have to do this or that. So it gave a lot of independence and anonymity to like the skateboard culture to be able to have control over all that stuff, rather than a big brand like Quicksilver making a surf video and be like, okay, here's the music we're going to use, you know, make sure these stickers are on your surfboard, you know, whatever. But whereas with skating, it's like, you want to do this, do that, whatever. And then of course that like morphed and changed and got more commercial over the years, but it's still kept its integrity as far as the just the inventiveness that kind of skateboarding celebrates.
Right.
They're not fighting for waves. Like my buddy Atiba, I was talking. He's also identical twin, Atiba and Akko.
You're talking about the Jeffersons.
Yeah.
Okay.
I said something about surfing to them, and Atiba's all, waves are always good when you're skateboarding. Waves are always good. They never change. Like you're not fighting over waves when you're a skateboarder. You know, it's a community. If you go out in the lineup and they don't know you, you're like, who are you? Why are you at this break? You know. So
Yeah.
it's just a different. It celebrates a different spirit.
I mean, there's localism, but it's not as prevalent with skateboarding.
Exactly. It can still very much be elitist, but yeah, whatever. What isn't?
Yeah, it's true. Even this podcast. So
yeah, we want the highbrows on this one.
Yeah, only top tier.
Yeah, but in my own solo work, having my whole vision was so. And we could talk a little about that before we, whatever.
Please, dude, please.
Cancel. I made a bunch of stuff during COVID, and it just turned into something else other than Mattson too, because of the quarantine and whatnot, and all this just personal stuff. And I just started making music with like programmed drum beats and bass lines. And my whole vision for the project was to kind of just create something that organically evolves over time and has like a life of its own each track. So that means that you don't really have a time limit to it. But my ultimate goal at the end of it was basically like to be able to translate it live. I was actually meditating on quite a while, like, how is this going to work live? Should I have like DJ gear and do it solo? Should I do this or that? And then I started getting really into reggae, like mainly like the Clash version of reggae, which is still very doing it great honor. They're very amazing reggae musicians. And this band called Oswald, and even like the early Steel Pulse records I was super into at the time. So I actually started getting some reggae influence into the sound. And that was when I watched a live footage of the Police playing. I was like, okay, that's how we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it as a power trio. And that's the way the music's gonna work. So looping wasn't going to be a part of that. So you actually need a competent bassist for that setup.
Which is also important for any music project. Is a good bassist, you know.
So the bass player that I am working with, and I'm so honored that he wanted to be a part of the project, is Tony Ferraro, and who I mentioned before from Astronauts Etc. He also plays keyboard in Toro Moi. But I got him not only because of his bass playing, which is incredible. He understands music on an intense, intimate level, like the way music actually works on a compositional level, on an arrangement level, on a production level, all the different identities of music he understands, you know, treble clef, bass clef, whatever, register. So to have him controlling, because the bass in the music that I've been making lately is the center of attention. Like the bass is way more important than whatever the guitar is doing. It's almost like 17th century counterpoint, like how important the bass is. So he's perfect for that because, you know, he just can steer the ship and understand what's going on. And he'll play around sometimes and change some of the notes, and it will completely change the song. Like you can invert one note, and that's how much control the bass player has in the music that I've been writing lately. Like you could change one note and turn it into a completely different song.
Awesome.
He doesn't do that because he's a nice man and he respects the music, but he could severely alter it if he wanted to. That's how integral the bass is to that music, which not so in Mattson 2 as much.
And I mean, it is prevalent, but it's not playing the role that it does in the other projects.
Yes.
Because some of those bass lines that you're looping, it's awesome, man. It's really killer. I really do love it. It's so interesting seeing it looped, the bass just in general. I don't think I've seen that before personally, and it was just so sick that you just do it real quick and then like there it is.
Yeah,
it's sitting there. So then, do you feel free after you get it down? You're like, all right, cool. Now I can go explore. Like this is the bass, and I'm going off.
So let me describe it this way. I think one of the gnarliest instruments ever made, ever played, ever mastered is an organ, like a jazz organist. Like that is an incredible musician, because if you look at an organ, next time you look at an organ, if it's a real Hammond B3 organ, look at the feet, and there's a whole keyboard for your feet. So not only are they doing the left hand, which is chords, they're doing right hand melody, and they're doing bass line on their feet. And no one even thinks about it, like what's going on there. So I take that idea a little bit from this. It's like they're not free at all. Like they have to be on their game 110% of the time. Like, but once they know their instrument and they're comfortable with it, although there's not true freedom, there is a level of freedom that they can improvise. They could improvise with their feet, they can improvise with their right hand, and they can improvise with their left hand. So that's incredible. Although it's not true freedom because you have to always be on your game, you get to a level where you almost have like a freedom of speech musically. And so with me and the looping, although it's very, very limiting, like I only have this that I'm doing, and it's going to play back, and it's going to play back, and it's going to sound the same every time. But you have freedom to do other stuff with what you're playing over it, and the rhythm is what you're doing, and the way you're building, even the way you're building a loop can be its own story. So the journey to get even to the loop, we think about sometimes. But anyways, that although it's limiting, yes, I do feel a sense of freedom, because number one, you can set up the groove that you want, the way you want it, and then you can play over it however you want it, you know, now that it's recorded and playing back.
Right. So that, I mean, there is freedom, but it comes with restraint at the same time. There's a
exactly
two worlds.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Well, whatever it is, man, it's cool. Okay, let me just say that I like hearing it, and the people who haven't heard it, please go check it out. You know, it's definitely definitely really, really cool. But
Thank you, Jacob. Nice.
Jared, last time we talked in the raw edit, we did talk about your promotion, but since you're here, we're gonna give it just a little bit more time here. So
Cool.
and you know, I like to wrap it up with some promo, as you know.
I'd
But
love that. Yeah.
everyone can go stream Mattson 2's music everywhere. You guys are everywhere. Wherever the people like to go listen to the music, that's where you guys are. So go ahead and find them there.
Cool.
Also, the music and the merch can be bought through Mattson2.com, right? That's the best place.
Yeah, exactly.
Killer. And the people can stay up to date with the shows and everything by following you guys on Instagram. Is that the best place?
Yeah, at the Mattson 2.
And that's 2 as in the number 2, not TWO or TOO
Yeah.
or TO. None of that bullshit. Number 2.
Number 2.
All right.
Like the number 2.
Like the number 2.
Yeah.
Dose. Yeah. Is there anything else that I'm missing before we wrap up recording?
My solo page is just Jared Mattson official. It's very official.
And that's there's underscores in between Jared underscore Mattson underscore official.
Yeah. So here's the thing, man, that's kind of cool. I'll leave you with this, but the record isn't, we're not sharing a release date yet, I don't think, but it's gonna be on Chaz Bear's label, from Tori Ima. He's a great label called Company, which is we release our past few records on. They're releasing the record, but it's not gonna be released for a while. But I'm kind of excited about it because we're doing it in kind of like a classic 80s and 90s fashion. I'm doing a lot of touring and playing shows before the record even is talked about or comes out. So like, although the record won't be out for a while, I'm doing a ton of shows as, you know, with my solo project.
Awesome. So
yeah, they'll all be on there, and hopefully people can come to the show and say hello, and we can hold hands and talk about our feelings or something.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way that shows are supposed to be going for anybody. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go out and check them out. Check out Mattson too. Check out Jared. And I mean, Jonathan has his own stuff going on as well, right?
John, let me tell you what he's doing. It's amazing. He just signed on as a booking agent at a New York talent agency called Anniversary Group. So he's representing me and my project. So Mattson 2 is alive and well and doing our thing, and we have a new agent who's amazing, who's booking up the year for us. But in addition to that, you know, Jonathan's my agent for this project. So we get to work together on this very different level. That's been very rewarding for both of us. So yeah, check out what he's doing too.
That's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's killer. I
he's
gotta have him on.
Agent, man. Like I've played with my solo project. I've already played he's already booked me over 20 shows. And then I have a whole nother tour coming up too. So he's just making something happen out of nothing, really.
He's gonna make you work, dude. Whether you want to or not, he's putting you out there. So you better be ready.
He asked me if he's allowed to kill me, basically. He said, is it okay if I kill you? It's a funny joking term in the music industry. Like your agent is supposed to kill you, like with how much work they give you.
Right.
So I'm stoked. Yeah.
You got a good agent, man. And that's fucking killer. All right, Jared, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you, man.
Jacob.
I'm gonna stop recording this, and then I'm gonna talk to you in a minute, dude.
Okay, man. Thank you for having me on the Vineyard, and we got some fresh fruits from this, didn't we?
Yeah, dude, we sure did. But I still like the raw the other day. That was sick, man. All right.
I know, man.
I know.
We could throw that in. Okay.
Yeah, dude, I might. I just might.
Thanks for listening, folks. Yeah.